Hi guys, this video is a sort of questions and answers video. Somebody contacted me a while ago asking me for a sort of interview, a written interview, because they are doing a piece on modding and the modding community. And I asked if it was okay if I did a video response, and he said it was. And the reason for that is I'm way too lazy to type all of this out. And some of you might be interested as well. So, question 1. Name, age, nationality. Name, Gopher. It's not a secret, and it's not a big mystery. I just want to keep my name, my personal life, separate from my modding community. I get about 500 messages a day on YouTube and quite a lot on Nexus, and I try to skim read them, but I can't read them all, and I certainly can't answer them all. And there's a lot of people asking for help, some people quite desperate, and I don't have the time, and I'm sorry for that. I'd love to be able to spend 3-4 hours a day answering all my messages. I just can't. I already spend too much time modding and making these videos, so I'm just trying to keep some distance so that, because if people get your name, if you advertise your name, they're going to contact you via your home email or your work email, and then I'm going to end up having to close those accounts down, and that's going to cause me problems. So that's the only reason. Nationality is British, but I do live in Norway. Question 2. What was the first mod you played? I'm not 100% sure. I know it was for Morrowind, and I think it was a mod that changed the leveling mechanism, because Morrowind and Oblivion, they have this horrible level mechanism whereby you go to sleep and you gain a level, and then you can apply statistics, and the amount you get to apply to those statistics depends on which skills you raised. And this kind of encouraged you to end up macro managing your skills. And so, for example, every time you knew you were going to level, you'd run off and pick up a mace and smack rats with it until you got your mace up by a certain amount, allowing you to have, +5 endurance and therefore the maximum health boost for that level. And it did tend to promote that kind of play, and it was irritating. So I used a mod for that. But I didn't mod my game very much back then. But that's probably the first one, Morrowind. Question 3. What was the first mod you created and what drove you to create it? The first mod I ever created was the Advanced Recon Stealth Armor. I generally play stealth characters in these games, although not in my Let's Play. And I was very disappointed when I found something called the Recon Armor, which is actually armor you wear underneath power armor, but I didn't know that at the time. And I thought it should be stealthy, so I added a stealth feel to it. And this was before the DLC came out, so it was before Chinese stealth armor. And it wasn't quite the same as that anyway. It started out quite a complicated algorithm as to when the stealth would kick in. I ended up coming up with something simpler and actually better in the end, that it only fires, it only has the stealth field when you are stationary. And it makes it a powerful item, but also an item you have to use wisely. So, and I uploaded that, and I didn't really think it would be getting that popular. And in fact, it actually didn't. It didn't get popular until I added night vision to the helmet, and thus was born another mod. Well, at the time it was all one mod, but it was a mod that added quite advanced visual modes. So target acquisition, variable night vision, thermal night vision eventually, etc. Quite a few, even X-ray vision eventually. Those mods, that actually ended up being a separate mod. But originally it was all one mod, and that made it popular. But that was my first ever mod. Actually, I could probably talk for an hour about the mods and how they progressed, so I should probably stop there. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I'm not sure how many mods I've got for Fallout. I think it's in the 50 or something for Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. So I did way too much modding. Okay, anyway. Next question. What is the mod you are most proud of? This is probably a tie. Probably a tie between the Advanced Recon Thermal Night Vision mod, as I just mentioned, because this was a mod that took a lot of time. It really did develop, and it's the mod that gave me the sort of grounding on doing lots of different mods, because it had models, so I had to learn how to do 3D modeling. It had scripting, so I had to learn to do scripting. It had image space modifiers. It had effects. It had all sorts of different features. It even had heads-up display elements, which is how I got into the heads-up display modding, because I ended up becoming the HUD guy, and that's how it started. So, and it's just probably one of my most all-round, best achievements mod-wise. The thing it ties with, I think, for mod I'm most proud of, is the Unified HUD project, which is a mod for New Vegas and Fallout 3, and its sole purpose is to help people use multiple heads-up display mods, because in those games, the heads-up display mods had one problem, in that whenever you installed one, it would remove all the changes added by the last one. And the only way to handle this was to do a lot of manual editing in XML, which a lot of people were understandably uncomfortable with. So I made this. It's not really a mod, actually, as much as a tool for the Nexus Mod Manager or Fallout Mod Manager at the time, that would build the heads-up display files for you. And it would even fix broken ones for you as well. So probably those two together I'm the most proud of. Next question. How do you feel about the interaction between your mods and the source materials? How comfortable or uncomfortable are you with the changing elements of developers' original artistic version? Yeah, completely comfortable. For me, changing the developer's original artistic vision, that's what modding's about, really. Well, not always. Sometimes it's fixing bugs, sometimes it's extending it, but sometimes it's changing it, and I'm completely comfortable with that. Generally speaking, the mods I use and create probably lie fairly closely to the original developer's artistic vision. But every now and again I've stepped out. I think of my fiendish power armor. Power armor for a fiend overlord. It's a little over the top, and I did it not. If I said I did it as a joke, that would be minimizing it a bit too much. I didn't do it as a joke. I did it as a bit of a challenge. I wanted to see. I would not if I could do it, because I knew I could do it. I wanted to see how it would look to make armor that was positively demonic, powered armor, and it was pretty cool. I would probably never use it in game. It's not immersive at all. It is a little outside the artistic vision, but I'm completely comfortable making it, definitely. Next question: what mods do you feel are particularly clever or add unusually creative elements to the source material? Who are the most creative modders in the community at present? Oh, huge question. There are so many clever mods. I mean, I think of things like WMK, Weapon Mod Kits by Antistar for Fallout 3. I mean, that's a mod that added silencers, laser sights to get the weapons in Fallout 3, something you could not do at the time. In Fallout New Vegas, that was built into the game. So that was an amazingly clever mod for its time. I also think of a lot of the really clever mods were done by one of the people I would actually consider to be one of the most creative modders. He's not actually in the community anymore. He real life came up and he had to take a break, an extended break. And that modder is called Pellinor. And he's created so many ridiculously clever mods. For example, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, there's no such thing as torches. There's no light sources were sort of single point and would go in all directions. There was no torch beam sort of thing like you would have in, say, Let's for Dead. And he created that. He created a lot of different mods, Selective Fire mod, a mod that allowed you to quick trade by pressing on a button and going straight to the trade menu, which was really useful. And a lot of these mods were very sort of underused and unknown, which is amazing to me because they were really clever. Both as a modder and as a user, I really did appreciate them. He also created MCM, the mod configuration menu mod, which has become the de facto standard for mod settings in Fallout New Vegas, and I think will be the de facto standard in Sky UI, although it's not him who's developing it, it's Schlangster and the Sky UI team who are developing it as part of Sky UI, but they've kept the name MCM in basically in credit to Pellinor, who came up with the concept originally. So yeah, there are plenty of other creative modders. The ones that are there at the present, Schlangster, the lead developer on Project Nevada, on Sky UI, and a member of the SKSE team. All of the SKSE team. I mean, it depends on what you mean by creative as well. I mean, the hardest working are definitely the Sky UI team and SKSE, at least to my knowledge. They work ridiculously hard. Creative. Mod authors like My Good Eye. He does a lot of different types of mods, but I've worked with him on a lot of projects that have been a lot of fun. He's a very visual guy, cameraman by, I think he's a video editor by career, and he did mods that did a lot of lighting changes, etc. For the Skyrim fans, Claralux, and he also worked with me on Dynavision, Cinematech for Fallout New Vegas, and a few other things. He's a very creative guy. He did a mod called Electro City in Fallout New Vegas, which added streetlights to places. But he did it in such a creative way, and he added all these little plaques on the lampposts, which the artwork was brilliant and so in keeping with the Fallout theme. So he was very creative. I mean, there are probably too many to mention. I could probably keep going through a list of people. I just love their work. Next question. Do you view modding as an art form? If so, do you view it as an art form separate from the art practiced by the original game developers? I wouldn't say it was an art form, really. It's from my perspective, when I'm modding, I am nowhere near as disciplined as when I'm working. I work as a developer. That is my career. And I'm far more focused and disciplined when developing there as when I'm modding. So you could say it was more artistic. But honestly, modding is more about, it's more like being a tinkerer. It's more like being an inventor, sat in your basement, inventing some crazy machine. A lot of it's all about the idea, and then it's about just trying things over and over until something works, and then taking it in the right direction, and then just polishing it. Okay, next question. Have you ever had any communication with the original developers of a game you've modded? Do you have any aspirations to work for a game studio? No, I have not talked to any developers of a game I've modded. I have actually talked to developers of a game that is going to be developed, Wasteland 2, and they talked to me and quite a number of modders because they want to make the game moddable. Do I have any aspirations to work for a game studio? Not especially, no. I mean, probably not. It's not really a big option anyway, and it's not really something I've thought about. I wouldn't say I wouldn't work for a game studio. As a game developer, not totally sure I would, actually. Maybe more in the marketing. So, you know, I'm enjoying making my videos more than I'm enjoying programming at the moment. It's kind of strange, but there you go. Okay. How do you hope people interact with your mods? Would you want them to play the game without mods first? Oh, how do I want them to interact with my mods? As instructed. Yeah, that's a mod author's favourite saying is RTFM. Yes, read the manual. Yeah. Now, honestly, the way I would like people to interact with my mods is to have fun and be constructive. In the end, would I want them to play without mods first? Do what you want. If you've never modded a game ever, and your first game is a moddable game, probably best you play that game without mods, or at least without major mods. So for example, if Skyrim was your first ever moddable game, you probably want to play it because if you're not experienced at modding, you're probably going to make some mistakes, and it may get frustrating, and it may make you think the game, Skyrim, is a problem rather than the mods. However, if you've modded Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and you've just bought Skyrim, mod it. Trust me, there's going to be a million things that annoy you from the start. Whether it's the ridiculously bright nights or maybe it's the UI. There'll be something that annoyed you in Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas or Oblivion, and you modded it. you're probably going to want to mod it in Skyrim as well. So that's what I would do. Okay, next question. Is there anything about modding process or about mods in general you would like to share? Yes, it takes a lot longer than you think. It can take thousands of hours. Plenty of mods out there really have absorbed some person's life to a great degree. So, you know, try to keep that in mind when you're interacting with them, even if you hate the mod, even if it's not a mod you would like. And there are always mods out there that you disagree with, or not disagree with, would not use, you know, at all. Don't disrespect them. Don't disrespect them. Whoever made them probably put a lot of work into it. It's probably very attached to it. And just because it's not your taste, you know, show a little respect. If you don't like it, just don't go to that mod page. That's what I would say on there. Next question. Perhaps I could... All right, here we go. You review hundreds and hundreds of mods. I'm sure many of them start to blur together. What sort of mods are produced ad nauseum, and why do you suppose that is? Right. I don't really feel that in my mod reviews because I review mods that interest me. Somebody already pointed out in one of my videos that I always say, this is a great mod. Yeah, that's because I generally only cover mods if I think they're good. I don't, if I find a mod I don't like, I probably won't review it. I've had a few mods where I thought, oh, I'm going to like this, and I've tried it, and then there have been problems, or it's not quite ready in my opinion yet, and I don't showcase it because the mod author might just need a few months. He might need to work on it. You know, he's put it out as a beta, and you know he's working on it, and I don't want to give it a bad rep, so I don't do it. I mean, I don't consider myself a mod reviewer. I know I am now by default, but I don't consider myself a mod reviewer. My videos, my channel is devoted to making modding accessible to as many as possible, and that includes mod authors. I'm there to encourage people. I'm there hopefully to give some positive feedback and some positive help for everyone. So, you know, and negativity is something I'm going to try and avoid. Now, you could fault me for that and say, you know, as a reviewer, you should review and give us your opinion on negative. All right, fair enough, but it's probably not going to happen. If it's a game and I review a game and I say, oh, I'm going to review this game and I think it's terrible, I'm going to tell you it's terrible because they get paid for that game. Yeah, it's as simple as that. I treat it different. Do some mods blur together? Well, they do for me. But they're not mods I cover. So, for example, the skimpy armors. Just not my thing. I'm sorry, it's not my thing. And I don't want to heap hate on a group. And it's not the only type of mod. There are mods that add salon hairdos. And some of them are really popular. And they do nothing for me. The idea of a Nordic woman in medieval times walking around with a salon hairdo with hair gel just blows my mind. I couldn't play, it would distract me. However, that's my personal taste. Someone else's personal taste, they might want their game, they might want everyone to be walking around in skimpy bikinis with salon hairdos, perfect makeup. And, you know, if that's what they want, more power to them. I mean, it's a game. If that's their personal fantasy, why not? They're not harming anyone. They're not. I mean, I know a lot of people like to heap hate on them and say, oh, it's unrealistic. And yeah, right, fine. But then they don't want that realism. Same way as I want the non-realism of dragons and magic. They want the non-realism that they happen to be, I don't know, they look like Jennifer Lopez and wear you know, nipple length boots for all I care. I don't know. They don't do anything for me, so I don't review them. And I must admit, when I see these mods come in, they do blur into a mass of mods. But here's the thing. I will bet you any money, of all the mods I love, people who like those mods probably look at the mods I review and think, God, it's the same mod every week. As I said, I'm a firm believer that modding is about personal choice. It's about doing to the game what you want to do. And if that involves playing a 7-foot-tall giant bunny rabbit, hey, have fun. You know, somewhere out there, someone's listened to this and thought, I'll play that race. And that's what's great about this. That's what's great about it. Okay, next question. With things like the Steam Workshop, the distribution channels for mods seem to be widening, and mods become simpler to install. Is this a trend you would predict to continue? And to what end? Do you see user-generated content as becoming a major selling point for future games? Yes, 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 and yes. Yes, it's going to keep getting wider. It's going to keep getting simpler all the time. It's never going to be trivial. It just isn't. We'll make something simpler. We'll make this part easier. And then someone else will come up with a completely new way of doing something that was not possible before. But it will require a little extra work. Oh yeah, maybe 2 years later, we'll make that simple to install as well. And then someone else will come along, and so on. Modding is never going to be trivial, I don't think. I don't think it'll ever be trivial. It'll get easier. It already is. I mean, you compare modding now to how it was back in the Morrowind days. It's a different world, and it really is. I mean, it's sometimes it does get frustrating when I hear people talk about, oh, I don't want to install SKSE, it's too difficult, modding should be simple, and you want to scream and pull your hair out because it's like, what? Modding now is so simple. But of course, it's all relative. People who join the modding community now, they don't realize how hard it was. But yeah, in 5 years' time, the people who say it's complicated now are probably going to be shouting at people complaining it's complicated then. That's the nature of it. So what was the other part of that? Do you see user-generated content as becoming a major selling point for future games? Yes, absolutely. I know a lot of game developers are even putting that in their sort of original vision. And I do think it'll be a major selling point because, of course, people buy this game knowing it's going to have future content. But the other thing to remember is, you look at Skyrim, year-old, still going to sell now because people see, not just the DLC, but the huge amount of content they can get. So yeah, major selling point. And the last question, finally there. With the thousands of mods available for games like Skyrim, it's not uncommon for a player to run over 100 different mods simultaneously. Given that scenario, the game becomes akin to a community art project. What onus of responsibility is there for mod authors, game developers, and player communities to maintain a sense of singular artistic vision? For example, in the case of Skyrim, is there a responsibility for any of these groups to maintain the game's vision and atmosphere of a medieval province on the brink of civil war? No. There you go. No, there isn't. As I've said, this is it. I mean, when Bethesda put out Skyrim and made it a moddable game, they had to know that people were going to add, I don't know, space robots to it. Has anyone added space robots to Skyrim? Someone might have, and it might. Well, they've added. The Dwemer had robots, but space robots, I don't know, with, I'm surprised there hasn't been a Doctor Who's TARDIS appear in it. Maybe there has, I don't know. This is what modding is. People add whatever. The silliest thing that comes to their mind. The silliest thing, they'll add it. If it can be done, they will do it. And you know what? That's great. That's what's so much fun about this. And does it ruin Skyrim? No, of course not. Of course it doesn't. I can play Skyrim and keep the medieval feeling, this medieval province on the brink of civil war, and it does not ruin it for me, knowing that out there is a mod that adds a spaceship to Skyrim, because I just don't use that mod. It doesn't ruin it for me knowing these mods exist, and some other people get massive amounts of fun out of it. So, no, I think this is what modding is about. In the end, just, taking a great game, making it last longer, making it different each time, improving little aspects of it, and just having as much fun as you possibly can for, how much did the game cost? $50? $50. I mean, that's a lot of fun for $50. I don't know how many hours of fun I've had with Skyrim, but I tell you what, I have got my money's worth. Anyway, that was the last question. And yeah, I probably babbled, got a bit off topic. I hope I answered all the questions and gave you the information you need. And for everyone else who was listening to this, I hope it wasn't too rambly and boring. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time.